Welcome to Practice Squad Podcast, episode 13. I am Jon. I am joined by my co-host Mark, and Saints lost on my birthday, as you predicted, Mark. So unfortunately that happened. It was a close game. Saints came out looking fantastic. Then Andy Dalton threw not one, but two pick sixes and probably had a pretty awesome slow-mo shot of him just looking just absolutely distraught. Well, that whoever that was that intercepted it just swan diving into the end zone behind him. Pretty legendary, but also heartbreaking.
I'm sure you and Andy Dalton looked the exact same in that clip of you and your birthday. I'm sure you had like drinks around you, everyone's celebrating your birthday, cake maybe, and in the background,
Just sitting
Saints
there,
getting absolutely
darkness,
destroyed.
my old friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's definitely pretty much what was going on. And well, I did have a great night with a bunch of great friends over on that day. That Saints win definitely did not happen, but that's all right. You know, you live and you learn. To boost my confidence a little bit, right? To get my ego feeling a little bit better. One thing I didn't do while traveling this past week, because I also traveled, just got back from a flight tonight, was sit around and do stretches and knee highs and stuff like that in the back of the airplane while I was heading to London, because I'm not weird like Russell Wilson was while his teammates were trying to sleep. So
John, I'll put it this way. I've had, first of all, planes suck, right? You just got off a plane. Russell Wilson's doing high knees and stretching and all kinds of different things on the plane with his team while they're traveling. It's a long flight to London. You know, I've had interesting flight experiences traveling for football as well. I'll say two things, right? The first thing to start this off, if my quarterback was behind me on a flight and I was trying to sleep on a long flight to London and we had a game coming up and he was behind me doing high knees and breathing heavily, I swear to God, I would turn around and kill him. I don't care who it is, okay? But to follow that up, the only thing worse than maybe that, and I guess people can decide what's worse. I was one of the smaller people on our roster at Central, and we flew to a bowl game in Boise, Idaho. And when we were trying to fly back, there was, you know how the planes are. They got in the middle row, in the middle section, there's 3 seats, right? And they would put me in the middle because I'm one of the smaller people. And these are some big dudes, right? I mean,
right,
these are Division I college football
and
players.
by Mark saying he's small, I mean you're what, 6 foot, about 200 pounds ish.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I was one of the smaller guys on the team, right? So they put me in the middle section, in the middle row, next to a 310-pound defensive lineman on this side, and on the other side, 290-pound offensive lineman. So for a flight back, and then the worst thing, the plane was, the wings were frozen because it was so cold. So they were trying to defrost the wings so that we could take off. So we sat on the plane, we boarded the plane, they made us stay on the plane while they defrosted the wings, probably before we even started moving, for an hour. And I'm sitting between these two sweaty beasts. And I mean, we just got done with the game. I mean, a lot of these guys didn't shower. If they did shower, it was like a quick, just, rinse, not really smelled bad.
So it was a really
in
smelly
between
plane.
beasts. Dude, I mean, you couldn't even see me. Like, if you walked by the plane, like, you wouldn't even see me. I was just between these two guys. So there's that.
Now, middle seat between two big guys. Like, were you guys close enough with teammates, or if you need to fall asleep, you could kind of just
I didn't really
lean over
know.
a little bit on their shoulder.
This was my
freshman
year. This was my freshman year. These guys were junior and senior. I didn't know them that well.
So you weren't doing that. You weren't even trying that.
No, dude, I couldn't do anything. I mean, they basically just like used me as like an elbow rest. Like, I was shorter than them. I was just pinched between them. And they don't fit. Airplane seats are not meant for 300-pound people.
No.
So
no, they definitely.
I mean, they were basically sitting on me, and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to die. Or like, I'm just sitting between these two behemoths. And so that, or Russell Wilson doing high knees, I'll let the people decide what's worse. But yeah, I mean, a lot of airplane talk. You just got off a flight. Dedication. John's here doing the episode. He's probably got, I don't know, 0 hours of sleep in the last 36 hours.
Hey, but I get to come back and talk football with my buddy Mark, so can't complain at all.
Nothing better.
And not only talking about dynamic duos a little bit, but also now Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are on the same offense with the 49ers. And while they did lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, man, like, that's going to be real exciting throughout the season. I think Shanahan's going to do an amazing job utilizing, really both their talents. And now it's like they kind of have similar skill sets, right? They're shifty. you can kind of put both of them out wide. You can kind of use both of them as running backs. He does a phenomenal job of using motion to kind of divert the defense's attention. And now you have two guys that you can do that with that are equally as threatening to defenses. I think that, once they work him into the scheme a little bit and figure out how they want to utilize him, that is going to be really scary to deal with. And, the 49ers, I think, are never out of it just because they're always kind of that solid, rugged, hard-nosed kind of football team. But, with that duo, man, like, especially in a weaker NFC, I think their playoff prospects just increased quite a bit. I don't know how you're feeling about that.
I mean, completely agree. As a play caller, that's like a dream. You have two guys that, like you said, are similar enough as running backs / slot receiver weapons where you can really move them around and interchange them. And I mean, teams already struggle to prepare for just Debo and what they use and how they used him. Now you have arguably the most versatile running back in the league in terms of what McCaffrey can do as a receiver and running back added to Debo. So now the whole like, hey, Debo's taken 20 hits as a running back, that drama is over with because McCaffrey can take off a huge amount of the load of the carries that Debo is, but you can still get Debo the ball on, jet handoffs, and you can put them both in the backfield. Like you said, you can motion one and give someone else the ball. Like you can use them both as decoys and the other guys will thrive. That is a dream as a play caller because it makes everyone around you on the offense better. It makes your life easier calling plays. It makes defensive coaches' lives a nightmare because you have to prepare for both of those guys now. And like you said, McCaffrey was there for maybe 3 days. So obviously he's new to the system. They're going to find ways to get him more familiar very quickly. And that'll be a really, really hard thing to stop. And the Niners really are a threat in the NFC. They were a threat before they got McCaffrey. But I mean, we talked about in the first episode of this podcast going all in. Right? Are we going to see teams do this more often? The Rams did it. It paid off for them. They got a Super Bowl ring out of it. And you want to talk about going all in? 49ers going and getting McCaffrey. That's going all in, man. That's going all in.
Absolutely. And to think, like Garoppolo's a limited quarterback, but he's very reliable. He knows how to play ball, and now you have Ayuk as your bigger, wide out that can kind of probably go for that down distance. And that, you have these short, like midfield yardage games too, where, Garoppolo's probably better in, right? You kind of like a Tua where it's like, hey, he can be accurate in short distances, but he's not the kind of dude that you just want like slinging the ball downfield. Really opens up a lot of options for him and utilizes his skill set and his limitations better. So,
and don't forget about Kyle Juszczyk and Kittle, two of the best blockers in football.
Right.
Are lead blocking for these guys, not to mention, but they also can catch passes out of the backfield like Debo and Christian McCaffrey can. It's like it's really for what Shanahan's system is, this is the best possible thing that he could have gotten is McCaffrey paired with Debo and then having blocking like Kittle and Juszczyk. And then they're also their ability to, run out of the backfield, just like McCaffrey and Debo do. Like that's just so rare to have those guys all playing together on the same offense at the same time. So
no, absolutely. And speaking of teams going all in, the Eagles just traded for an edge rusher, Bears, Robert Quinn. We actually have a Bears fan that's going to be a guest with us. Mark, would you like to intro him, kind of give the fan base a little bit of context on why we're bringing this guy on to talk about, I don't know, maybe one of the worst teams in football?
Yeah, well, we got a kid named Caleb, a.k.a. Cab Kalenko. If you do know him, you know why I'm bringing him on the show. If you don't know him, you'll find out shortly because he'll be coming on here as we talk about the Bears and their matchup with New England and just everything that's happened with Chicago. But Caleb was a roommate of mine at Central. He never played college, high school, any football ever, but he's a fan of it, and he's been a Bears fan his whole life. He's from Chicago. He's just kind of an interesting fella, and he's entertaining, and he's a diehard Bears fan. He's a huge Mitch Trubisky fan. So we'll bring him on and let him kind of go over the Bears and see what he thinks about the Chicago DABEARS.
Gab, how you doing, bud?
First of all, how dare you? Lions, worst team in the NFL. Not even a question. I cannot wait for this Lions-Bears matchup. Just a piss poor game all around. So
I'm so mad, John, that we chose to bring this guy on after the Bears beat New England.
Yeah, right. Because we're just giving him just enough confidence to come on here and say stuff like that. Because,
Dude, I mean, but the
especially since
thing
the
is
Lions got absolutely crushed.
he can say that, and we can't even argue it because the Lions just played New England 2 weeks ago and got beat. They got shut out, and then they go into New England, Chicago, Justin Fields. Oh my God, they go into New England and just destroy them. And this kid comes on the podcast running his mouth. I knew this was going to happen. Worst week we could have brought him on, John.
Yeah. Well, so all joking aside, Cab, right? Like Bears seem to be very openly and admittedly in a rebuild, right? They've traded away a lot of their talent. As of this morning, they traded away one of their better edge rushers. They don't have a lot going on their offensive line. They've gotten rid of some of their best wide receivers. Obviously, Khalil Mack going to the Chargers. Lots happening. This win's got to feel pretty good against a Patriots team that, is really struggling at this point. They're now last place in their division. What do you think made this matchup, one that the Bears could actually come away with a win in an away game, playing a really sound team?
Honestly, it's just straight up luck. I don't think the Bears are all that. I'm going to be honest, the Bears are not all that.
It's just straight up luck.
Yeah,
that was
the Bears,
the least technical answer I think we've gotten in the show. I love it.
And that's all you're going to get from me. I'm, the new analyst here, but no, the Bears are definitely in a rebuild phase, and it all started when they got rid of Mitch. Mitch was that guy. He was their guy, and as soon as Matt Nagy's play calling got stale, they turned to the bad guy, Mitch. Who was the real evil villain? Matt Nagy. So they're definitely in a rebuild phase, but this win means nothing. It's the Bears against the Patriots.
It means nothing. Listen, Joe Svengros, Cap, your old pal Joe Svengros came on on this podcast 2 episodes ago, and he made a bold claim that the Bears would not win another game. What do you have to say to someone like that? After this week.
Well, that guy's an idiot. He's all in on the Lions. Man, Dan Campbell this, Dan Campbell that. This guy's an idiot. The Bears, they might win another 2 games. Toss up against the Vikings. Toss up against the Lions. Play the Lions twice. Gonna beat them both times probably, but that's 2 bad football games to watch. What is there a Thanksgiving Lions game this year? Are they playing the Bears? I don't even know.
They're playing the Bills on Thanksgiving.
The Lions play the Bills.
Oh, the Bills,
so
even better. Even better.
Yeah, so we know going in that we are going to watch the Lions be absolutely decimated on Thanksgiving.
It's going to be so bad.
But at least we know going into it. It's like how bad is this going to be? It's just going to be a slaughter. It's going to be fun.
Cab, what do you have to say about people that continue to mention the name Cody Parkey and the words double doink?
Oh my God. I sat and I watched that game on that fateful night, and it was probably the worst thing I've ever seen as a Chicago fan when everything comes together for 1 year in your life. Mitch is playing out of his freaking gourd. And this double doink little dork decides to do that. Have you seen him play in the league since? I don't think so. Because that man just destroyed so many freaking lives.
Cab, what was it in our apartment that you broke that night? There was like 3 items that were broken by you.
I believe I broke 2 putters. I don't know whose they were. They were just
he snapped a putter over his leg.
Yeah.
And I tell you this, there's only you want to talk about greatest athletes of all time, right? Michael Jordan, everything we saw him do. Bo Jackson, watching him snap the baseball bat over his head and climb walls. And then Caleb Kalenko, similarly, snapping a metal putter over his knee out of anger. I mean, it has to be insane anger that only Chicago Bears fans understand to get somebody like Cab to be able to do something that Bo Jackson did, right? I mean, we're talking.
It's very impressive for sure.
Cab's up there in the top 3 athletes of all time.
Right. Now, Cab, where did? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just put yourself in my shoes. If the Lions were in that situation, man, the whole city would have burned down. The whole freaking city. The Motor City would have been wiped off the earth.
I did watch that Cowboys playoff game about a decade ago now, and similar rage on probably one of the worst pass interference calls I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, Cab. I think it's harder, and I think most people agree. I think the Lions fan base have had a harder last 40 years than Chicago. I'll have to say
that's because the Lions suck. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. They don't even know what sport they're playing.
They're cursed.
Yeah, they're cursed and they suck. What do you want? That's the two worst combinations. It's like the Cubs. Oh my gosh.
I honestly think that if the Tigers, Pistons, and Lions all with the same rosters they had switch sports they were playing, we might be better. Like the Lions football team might have been better than the Tigers at baseball this year, and vice versa. That's how bad it is in Detroit right now.
Well, that's because baseball is not really a real sport. So
that too. But I mean, seriously, like we could have taken the Detroit Pistons and maybe been better against the Cowboys on Sunday. It's
Jared Goff can't hit a baseball though. He's a freaking Zoid. What do you want out of him? I mean, that guy can't even throw the ball 20 yards. How many times did he fumble last game? 4 freaking times. I mean, come on.
Yeah, lots of turnover. I think as like the confidence in being that explosive offense has gone down, Goff has decided to show his true self a little bit more and just make a bunch of stupid mistakes. But on quarterbacks that are talented but making dumb mistakes and just can't get the job done, right? You're a big Mitch Trubisky fan.
Yep.
I'm not really sure why. I'd like to hear the explanation there. I'd like to hear also how you feel about him losing the job to rookie, 2 gloves, Kenny Pickett, who threw 3 interceptions this most recent game against the Dolphins, and how you think it's going on in the Steelers camp with Mitch Trubisky being the second stringer there now.
I've been a day one Mitch fan. I have 2 Mitch Trubisky's jerseys, the exact same. And we're coming.
Do you wear them at the same time?
I have before, honestly. going back to Pittsburgh. They don't know what they're doing with their quarterback situation. Mitch was set up to fail from the start. The whole city's chanting Kenny Pickett. How many picks does this kid throw? How many picks? Mitch is their guy. Didn't he just lead a comeback win against, I don't know, the Patriots or something like that? I don't even know sports. But look, let me tell you, Mitch is the guy.
My favorite statistic about Kenny, his first start when he came and replaced Mitch in I think that Jets game, is that none of his passes hit the ground. They were either caught or intercepted by somebody.
That's the beauty of football. That's the beauty of football. But let me just ask you one question. How many MVP trophies does Kenny Pickett have? Or who else? Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady even. None. You're staring at the one and only Mitch Trubisky, who is playing lights out. He's trying his best in Pittsburgh. The play calling's stale. Najee Harris is not doing nothing. The run game's terrible. The O-line's terrible. Everything's terrible in Pittsburgh, just like it is in Chicago. A lot of bad football in the league. Let me tell you that much. Even Tom Brady said it himself.
Cab, what is your secret? I mean, obviously you come to this podcast, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, but you come to this podcast and you're third and second place in fantasy football this year. And last year you were in a deep playoff run. And your first year ever doing fantasy, I literally had to pay this kid to do it because we needed one more guy in our college league. And this guy wouldn't do it because he's never done it. I had to basically give him a free buy-in. Dude ends up coming in runner up. So what's your secret in fantasy football? And how do you somehow pull it off and you don't know what the hell you're talking about?
Mark Andrews, baby. That's all you got to ride. Got to get that good tight end in the league, nice little quarterback action, maybe a good wide receiver, a little shimmy with the running back, and then you're good to go. That's all it is.
It's unbelievable. You see how it pains me to lose to Cab when he says stuff like this?
And Mark, honestly, I think people that spend way too much time caring about football are setting themselves up for failure because, one, they aren't letting auto draft kind of take the wheel for them as much, and they think they're smarter than the auto draft. And the other thing too is that we put emphasis on players that in our heads we think are good because we watch them play good football, and we forget that absolutely does not translate to being a good fantasy player, and vice versa. And Cab's over here just saying, this guy scored a lot of points. Auto draft tells me he's high.
Essentially, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Essentially, points
so
win.
You're a fantasy bot. You're just a robot.
I wholeheartedly disagree in that. I do not auto draft. I am a man with my picks. I'm a responsible GM, and that's why I finished second and third place in the previous 2 years, my first 2 years in the league, and that's why I'm in second in this year's league with the most points scored and the most points against. So it comes down to it. Who's a better GM?
Mark, what are you doing with your bench guys, right? Are they trying to get some PT and you're not giving it to them? Did you take the L against Cab so far? Have you played?
I did take the L against Cab, and I mean this guy. I tried to talk some trades with him. I tried to talk some trades with this guy a few weeks back. My team was 0-3, and he wasn't super friendly towards my trade conversation. But hey, I got 4 wins in a row. I'm back up. I'm actually 3rd in the league right now, right behind Cab. So I'm chasing him down,
Hey,
trying to get
next
back
time
at
you
him.
guys meet, it's going to be a barn burner, right? It's going to be a
Should
big one.
be.
So, Cab, before we let you go here, any final remarks or hot takes you want to lay on us? Joe had 3 decent hot takes. One of them has not panned out, but he has the Lamar Jackson one. And what was the other one that Joe had that I'm struggling to recall? But anything that you want to inform us of that you think is going to pan out for the rest of this NFL season?
Oh, of course. Definitely. I don't think the Lions are going to win another freaking football game this year.
Okay.
I don't. I
Wow.
really don't think they will. And another hot take. I think the Jets are going to make a decent run this year. They just lost Brees Hall, but they just got James Robinson or something from
Yeah.
Jacksonville. So like things are looking up in New York for both New York teams. Giants too. I feel like those two are going to be top contenders in this league this year, alongside the Bills and the Chiefs, per usual. So that's all. That's my hot take.
Cab, how many more wins? Those are both good. Those are good hot takes, by the way. How many more wins do the Bears get this season?
2, if we
2
pray.
more. 2
If
more.
we pray to Papa Mitch, I don't know. That's all it comes down to.
Who would you be willing to give up to trade back for Mitch Trubisky?
The whole roster. Start clean.
Would you honestly give up? Would you give up Justin Fields and David Montgomery to get Mitch back?
Yes, and here's why. Because the obvious play calling in Chicago right now does not fit Justin Fields' scheme. Last game it had to because it was raining in Foxborough, of course. So they were forced to run him. But their play calling is not suited for the man. They're suited for Mitch and Mitch only, and just never have changed.
It's a fair point.
Yeah,
You're a loyal Mitch man, dude. I mean,
yeah. I hope you get to meet him and have him sign both of your jerseys at the same time one day. Maybe like right hand, left hand, just at the same time, and knock both those out for you. You can wear them at the same time. Cab, thanks for coming on, bud. We appreciate having you.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I hope I gave you guys a little bit of spice for the podcast to talk some more Bears Lions football later in the season.
I gotta say that I think this is the most time Mark and I have both laughed having a guest out, and so we definitely appreciate the entertainment.
This is why we brought him on. People that didn't know Cab before this, now you do.
You have people like Joe Spengros on. That guy's a freaking bot. What do you want from me? Like, the guy is a diehard Detroit Lions fan. He has no takes on football. So
well,
thanks for having me on.
I think we need to have both of them on at the same time.
Yeah, this is
because Joe had a different strategy. He came out nice and polite, and I think had some good insight, which caught both Mark and I by surprise. I think we just need to be stirring the pot a little bit more. So, Cab, we appreciate you doing that, and hopefully next time we see you, we can just watch you and Joe go at it together on the podcast. I think that sounds great.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I look forward to it.
Awesome. You have a good night, buddy. The Bears.
The Bears. Oh, man.
That was great. I am going to share my screen, and we are going to get into the game recaps. So, obviously, already talked about Saints Cardinals. Ravens Browns. Look, I know the Ravens are only 4-3. They're definitely struggling in the fourth quarter. I think it was really good to see them win this game. It's also hilarious to see the Browns fall to 2-5. Everybody was kind of excited about, maybe the idea that the Browns were going to hang in there until Watson, comes into the fray. It seems like Watson's going to inherit, a struggling Browns team at this point, which is exciting because I think that's kind of what you want to see happen. And maybe you see some crash and burn following, Watson coming onto the field as well. So, Mark, any insight on that game?
No, I mean, it just goes back to, what Joe said and what I kind of agreed with a few episodes ago about the Lamar Jackson. He has not looked the same. He started off the season really, really hot, had a few good games running the ball and throwing the ball, and he's cooled off. He's cooled off drastically, and, Joe was spot on in that prediction, and I think it's going to continue to be like that. And, like I said, to piggyback off of Joe is, once teams start to figure out what they're trying to do with Lamar Jackson and they can start to toy with what they're doing in the passing game, you limit him. And if you can take either the throw or the run away from him, he gets frustrated. He starts to force things, and they have not looked the same since those first few games. So
For sure. And they lost some of those first few games that they should have won.
Yeah.
So definitely critical for Baltimore to figure something out here. Probably one of the more interesting game that we both got wrong was Bucks Panthers. That was an absolute disaster. That entire outcome just shocked me. It was nuts.
It shocked me too. We're going off of the previous week. They lost to Pittsburgh, which isn't a very good football team. And to go in and play, like we both agree, the Panthers are arguably the worst team in the NFL right now. We said that last week. And I couldn't believe.
We said that last week before they traded Christian McCaffrey away too. Like their entire offense is gone.
Going into that game, remember we said I literally said there's no matter how many weddings Brady goes to this week, they're not losing. Well, I was wrong, right? I guess he went to one too many weddings because they were not ready to play. They just don't look sharp. I don't know, like Tom Brady, and we said this before the season. We said it before the season, John. We were a little bit worried, but did I think it was going to be this bad? Did you think it was going to be this bad? No. He's not even a top 10 quarterback right now. Like he doesn't look like Tom Brady.
He's not a top 20 quarterback.
He doesn't look like he's a shell of what he once was. And I don't know what you blame. Like, I don't know if you blame the retirement and the late start to him getting back with the team this season. Obviously, the family life that's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of distractions in Tampa. Like, I don't know what it is. And yeah, they're missing some guys too that they've had in the last couple of years. But come on. And the crazy thing is that they're still probably going to win the division. They'll still probably win the division. It's crazy.
Well, that as a Saints fan, that's one thing that gets me excited is we're not out of it yet, just because of how absolutely horrible this division is. So I'm excited. There's still a shot at a playoff berth, and that playoff berth might happen with us not even going 500 at this rate, because I don't know if any team in the NFC South is going to go 500, which is insane. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. It looks incredibly rough. It seems like a lot of things are just crashing down at once. And it sucks because, like, as much as, I'm not like the biggest Brady fan in the world, you got to give credit. This man has had 20 years of winning and success, just absolute domination. And what's going to stick out in everybody's minds now is this season and how, there's damage to that legacy because of it, which honestly is not fair to Tom Brady, but people's memories are really short and they're going to remember this crash and burn.
Yeah. So what have you done for me lately, world?
Exactly. Absolutely. Bengals Falcons kind of turned out the way that I expected it to. I actually thought the Falcons were going to put up a little bit more of a fight, but no, Joe Burrow and gang were humming right away. They got up to a very early lead and they maintained it for the rest of the game.
They were back. There. The chemistry with Jamar Chase, the ability to spread the ball to those other receivers, T. Higgins, Boyd. Joe Burrow is fully back in the swing of things. A little Super Bowl hangover at the beginning of the year, but they're back. The Bengals are a real threat. Their defense has improved, and that offense is humming. So
absolutely
not a team I'd want to see.
The score with this Lions Cowboys game, I wouldn't say is super accurate to what actually transpired. And I was, watching this with my dad and my brother at a Dave & Buster's, actually, which was a great suggestion for my dad. Shout out to him because they put up all of the games at once on a big screen. It's very easy to watch all of them at the same time. It was a lot of fun. And I just remember Wright catching that pass, right, when it was whatever it was, like 6-10 or whatever, making it all the way downfield, going down at the 1 yard line. I thought it was a touchdown, and I celebrated and everything. And then the fumble happened on the 1 yard line. We didn't review the play, and everything went downhill from there. And I was getting chirped at by some Cowboys fans because of the fact that I prematurely celebrated. That wasn't a good time, pretty embarrassing. And then we just watched the rest of the game transpire into just complete madness. Goff forcing everything, tons of turnovers, and then Dallas just ran up the score on the Lions, and it was probably just the worst, most embarrassing 6 minutes of the season so far as a Lions fan. We're just super classic, hung in there all game. Defense actually looked like they were playing really good. You have victory right in front of you, literally 1 yard away after a phenomenal play, and instead you get blown out for the last 6 minutes of the game. Not even close. Absolutely embarrassing. The whole Lions organization should be completely ashamed of themselves for letting that one slip. You're in Jerry World. The game's there. And in a critical moment, per usual, you find a way to mess it up. Classic.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a rant on our socials yet because I'm going to kind of do it right here. And I've kind of just saved it in. I took a step back. I was like, I'm just going to wait and maybe I won't be as angry. But I am. I'm furious because you're right. Like they hung in that game and they wasn't clean football by either team. I'll say this. I'll start with the Cowboys. They, with Dak Prescott, are worse than they are with Cooper Rush.
They look horrible offensively.
I don't care what anybody says. They try to do things with Dak Prescott that isn't the best. It's not the best situation for them to win football games. They have a great defense, a great pass rush. They need to play Cooper Rush and complementary football and run the ball and throw play action. They start getting cute with Dak and he starts forcing throws. I mean, he threw a lot of balls that should have been intercepted. He just didn't look good. And I get he's rusty and whatever, but he wasn't good in the first game either against Tampa. Yeah. So
no, it's almost like the fact that they thought they were limited was actually making them play
exactly
offensive football.
Exactly. And
they think that Dak is the superstar, and he's not. We've been saying
right.
This.
And Joe said this on the episode he came on, and I agree with him. He said that they're going to be better when they bring Dak back. And he said basically that they'll end up beating the Eagles in the division because they'll call the offense like Cooper Rush is in, but it's Dak. And they didn't. They did the exact opposite. They started to do things different that they would never do with Cooper Rush. And that's why they were in a close football game with the Lions for 3.5 quarters. It's embarrassing. Okay. But back to Detroit, back to the real problem. Okay. I mean, this is embarrassing. You're in a very close game with one of the better teams in the league. You're handling the pass rush. Sewell looked great against Micah Parsons pretty much the whole game, right? And Goff didn't look bad. And listen, we were able to run the ball and had play action, and we looked okay. And then you get to an opportunity where you hit a play action tight end pass all the way down to the 1 yard line, right? And yes, he was short of the end zone, but you got to try to review it. And the ball would have probably been put at the half yard line if they reviewed it because he was down closer to the goal line than the 1 yard line. And that, I don't know if that changes the fumble or not. You never know. They probably do a quarterback sneak instead and much less likely to fumble that. But Jamal Williams, inexcusable. You cannot fumble. I don't care who you are. I don't care what situation.
First lost fumble in his career, by the way. Classic Lions.
In the worst way possible.
Old Lions.
In the worst way possible. In the worst way possible.
So bad.
1 yard line going in to take the lead against Dallas, and you fumble going in. It's just unbelievable the types of ways that the Lions continue to find, how can we lose? How can we lose? And they'll find a different way every single time. And I'll just say this as a Lions fan and people that are Lions fans, at this point in time, I don't know what to think anymore because Dan Campbell provided hope. He provided a spark, energy that we weren't used to seeing. There was definitely buzz around it. I mean, you remember 5 weeks ago going into the season, I think we were 1-1 or whatever. We played the Eagles close. We had just beaten Washington. I mean, there was buzz. There was hope. There was a lot of optimism, Hard Knocks, all this stuff. And, and I had I was reserved. I was like, I don't know. I think we're getting too eager to just have our hopes crushed again. I said that, right, in one of the earlier episodes.
Yep.
And it's exactly what's happening. Dan Campbell can't coach.
3 words. Same.
Yeah. Same old, man. And
Lions.
But the thing is we didn't think it was going to be the same old Lions. Truly, I think Detroit believed in it. I mean, one of the most popular bets was the season over. It's just people in America, Detroit fans believed in Detroit. They thought something different's going to happen this year. And shame on us for believing it.
I guess so.
And Dan Campbell is just he's not the answer. I said it a few weeks ago. He should be fired. They should clean house. He can't be a head football coach. I don't know what the solution is right now. He clearly isn't it. Our ownership is terrible. And honestly, I think it's our ownership until we change that, no matter who we hire, no matter who's our quarterback, no matter who we draft, we're going to struggle. I don't care how good our roster is because our roster is pretty good. We have a good offensive line. We have several running backs. We have a veteran quarterback. We just find ways to lose games, whether it's coaching, whether it's fumbling, whether it's, bad play calling, whether it's just playing horrible defense. We've lost games in so many different ways already this year. And Cab's right. I mean, I don't know if Detroit's going to win another game. I mean, it's every single week they're up against it just because of their situation of who they are. It's like a curse, right? And people talk about this curse
because we literally go toe to toe with some pretty good teams and just choke it away. It's nuts.
And then you go into a game.
I do
You
want
go
to
into a
mention
game.
one last
Yeah,
thing
go
because
ahead.
we spend way too much time every week on the Lions, but we are Lions fans. That's
I
okay.
get fired. I get all
I do
crazy.
too. We were also worried about the NFL overcompensating on concussion protocol, and it broke my heart to find out that Amon-Ra was not concussed, cleared all of the actual concussion testing and protocol when they took him to the tent on the field, but because he showed instability from getting knocked on the head, he was out for the entire game. And that wasn't a penalty, and it was just kind of a weird, awkward hit. I don't think there was any, bad intentions there.
It was a leg that it was like a knee that hit him in the back of the head. So he probably got his bell rung. And John, to your point, I know where you're going. You're exactly right. You're exactly like the problem is the NFL overreacts to certain things, and they try to overcompensate by when they made the mistake with Tua. We called this. This was going to happen. The roughing the passer stuff has been out of hand. It's been crazy. We saw more this week. And then now the concussion stuff. I mean, you could see him on the sideline saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. Right. And if he passes all of the concussion protocol and the guy wants to go back in, that is not up for
he's
someone
a
else.
grown man that gets paid millions of dollars.
Right.
I get there is some perverse incentives, but if he goes in and clears all the protocol without a hitch, right?
Right. That's
but
why
then,
the protocol
then it's
is
a
in
judgment
place.
call on instability on the field. What does that mean? And then the thing that got me concerned thinking about this is what if you're a defender and you notice that? And you could potentially capitalize on some opportunities where, man, if I hit this guy just right and he's shaky to get up, that he is out of the game and not a problem anymore. And in this business where people have actually tried to do a lot worse things for a lot less incentive, it's something that does kind of concern me. And look, maybe I'm getting a little conspiratorial with that, but again, this is a league where people got paid bonuses to try to hurt quarterbacks. It does not seem to.
Let's not act like you don't know what team that was.
I do know what team that was.
The Saints.
I do know what team that was, and I'm just trying to say that
John's there was this anonymous team that did it.
Who did it? I'm not sure.
You Saints fan loser. And conspiratory is a word, dude. Are we sure? Can we fact check that?
Because that's conspiratorial.
That's one of the more
I got 3
words
degrees.
I've ever heard.
That's don't worry about it.
See, I didn't know that was a word, so that kind of threw me off. But no, you're totally right. You're totally right.
Giants, Jaguars. My thesis that the Giants are not that good is starting to fall apart a little bit. They haven't really played a good team. Besides what? They haven't even played the Cowboys yet, right?
No, they lost to Dallas.
They did lose to Dallas. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's their one loss. You're right. So I mean, I'm curious to see, as they play the Eagles and stuff like that, how they hang in there. But I've been saying I don't think the Jags are necessarily a horrible team, and they definitely took care of business there. It was a close game though, so we'll see. I'm still not totally convinced that the Giants are it, but I am impressed with their 6-1 record. Obviously, the Lions could be a 6-1 team, but instead they're turds. And with a rebuilding Giants that just got a new head coach, they're looking really good. Colts, Titans were able to beat the Colts twice, which is not an easy feat, but they were able to make it happen. The Colts are horrible. Matt Ryan getting benched.
Matt Ryan's benched. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when you turn the ball over like that, I mean, that you're going to lose the game. It's as simple as that. That's the simple formula for that, why that game went the way it did. Tennessee pretty much is the front runner in that division right now because of those putting the Colts down twice. I mean, I guess Houston can try to come from behind and catch up to them. But just inexcusable. I mean, Matt Ryan, a huge letdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And now moving on to, we talked a good bit about Brady, moving on to another team with a veteran quarterback that should be better than they are. I mean, the Commanders felt like they were determined to win that game come hell or high water pretty much since the first quarter. I think they could smell the blood in the water, and they were determined to make sure that they capitalized on it. And that's exactly what they did. Man, Green Bay looks rough. Rodgers seems pretty chill about it. He seems like, they're going to be able to put it together and make it happen. But man, they're 3-4, right? They're tied with
in any other division. In any other division, he'd be worried. But because of because he plays in the Bears and the Lions division in Minnesota, I don't know,
man. The Vikings look pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't know if they keep winning the way they have been, and the Packers get to play them again. So, listen, he's he's calm, he's collected. They'll be fine, I think, down the road. But things are scary right now. And I'll say this too, give credit to Washington for winning that game, but Green Bay had some calls go against them. There was a scoop and score that would have made it a 2-possession game for Green Bay. That was one of the worst calls I've seen. It was the other side of the field, and they called an illegal contact. A pretty terrible call.
Yeah, the illegal contact calling this season's been, and I know
terrible.
it's like a point of emphasis or whatever, but
it's awful,
very annoying.
So,
yeah, it's rough. We'll see what happens. That was a stretch. These past 3 games were a stretch that the Packers typically win, and now, they got the Bills coming up, right? This team could fall to 3-5. That's not a fun situation. You're right that they'll probably be all right. They'll still probably make the playoffs. But definitely a lot more cause to concern in Green Bay than there usually is. Moving on to Jets-Broncos. The Broncos were out. Russell Wilson, I'm not really sure how much of an impact that makes, right? Still was just a standard Broncos game where their offense couldn't score points and their defense kept them in it. But, man, the Jets look so legit for, the first time in literally, I think, both of our lifetimes, essentially. It's pretty exciting for them. They're in a very competitive division, but if they do make the playoffs, I think they're going to be, a pretty seriously competitive team. They look legit. Unlike the Giants, I don't think their record's really a fluke. I think that they have properly rebuilt this team and that they are kind of firing on all cylinders right now.
The scary thing too, dude, is they're so young. They're so young. The Jets are really, really young. And, they could be good for a while. They're already competing with some of the better teams in the league, and the record shows that, they're ready to go, and they're a very young, immature team still. So that's exciting. That's exciting if you're a New York fan, because the future seems to be bright, and the future is now. They're already starting to put it together.
Absolutely. It really sucks that they lost Breece Hall. He was having a absolutely killer rookie season. So it's a bummer.
James Robinson, though, will help him out.
Absolutely. And I'm excited about that pickup, and I definitely think they'll be able to plug some holes. But you just got to feel bad for Breece Hall. Rookie season, absolutely having a great year. Hopefully he'll come back strong his sophomore year and make it happen. Raiders and Texans, as we kind of predicted, the Raiders just kind of put the Texans to bed. And again, I don't know. I think most teams that they played this week, they had some frustration to let out, and they definitely did put up a lot of points, had a pretty dominant win there.
Dude, the Raiders are good. They're a really, really good football team, and they just have had things not go their way in just about every game. This game, they came out and they played with that frustration that Devontae Adams had when he shoved that fan over. It seemed like they had that.
They were in fan shoving mood for sure.
For sure. And John, we said this. We said both these teams were coming off of buys. Which team's going to come off, more motivated? And it was absolutely Vegas. So we were right there.
I think we were both shocked about Seahawks Chargers. It's crazy that the Seahawks are number 1 in their division. Definitely nobody had that on their bingo cards going into the season. I didn't catch all of this game. I just caught bits and pieces of it. But it's weird to see the Chargers, and I don't want to get over dramatic about it because they are 4-3. But again, man, it's just like you always feel like this team should be better. Just looking at the roster, looking at their offensive output, and they just lose games that they shouldn't. Right. And I feel like this is kind of the common brand and theme with the Chargers, the years that I have been watching them play football. And their roster is absolutely overloaded. So to lose to the Seahawks team, definitely kind of embarrassing for the Chargers. Shit happens.
They've been injury ridden too. Keenan Allen, Bose has been out. I think they just lost JC Jackson this week. The Chargers are a really good football team when healthy, and they're a dangerous team. And if they can find a way to get in the playoffs, it's not a team that I'd want to see.
Definitely not.
They're a borderline playoff team now because they're up against it.
Absolutely. I love mid-season, right? Because so many of these teams really truly can turn it around, right? We're officially halfway done with the NFL season. And now, some of these teams, that are looking really good are going to start falling apart. And some of these teams that have been struggling are probably going to start playing better football, right? 49ers 3-4. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to be able to turn it around for the second half of the season. But there's other teams potentially the Giants. I know you have similar feelings about the Eagles where, their records aren't what they seem, and stuff might start falling apart for them. So we'll see. We'll have to keep up with that and see what happens there. 49ers KC, man, that first half was really exciting for me. I actually thought, even though Christian McCaffrey had 48 hours there, they used him in some interesting ways in that first half pretty well. And then it was just KC's half in that second half. They just absolutely dominated. And the game completely got away from the 49ers. Interesting stat that I heard is that when Shanahan's down in the fourth quarter, he's like 1-27 like that or something like that. Like he just struggles to get it done if he's not leading in the second half. So
yeah, he's a running first type of guy, right? So if you're behind and the play action's not there anymore because teams know you have to throw, it's a whole different ball game, right? So I mean, there's probably a reason behind that stat, and if I had to guess, that's probably what it is.
Definitely. The run game keeps teams honest and opens up that play action. And like you said, if you're trying to make deep balls happen, Garoppolo's not the quarterback for it. The Shanahan system's not the system for that. So
right.
The Dolphins Steelers, I think the Dolphins should have had a more dominant win here. It was a weird game, very interesting, weird game. Seemed like the fans were really happy to have Tua back though. Pickett, man, I don't know if he's the answer. I mean, and I know he's a rookie, so you don't want to judge anything too quickly. If we've learned anything over the past couple of years, you want to give these young quarterbacks time to develop before really forming an opinion. Tua being a phenomenal example of that. But I think he's at 7 or 8 interceptions already in over just a handful of starts. That's a pretty ugly look. Hopefully you can figure that out. I don't even know if it's like, really, I think he's making good reads. I think he's
shown a lot of good. He's shown a lot
exactly.
They're asking a lot of him, right? I mean, they're playing from behind in most of these games, and he's trying to force stuff to happen. And any rookie, that's a tough situation to be in. But he shows a lot of promising things. I wouldn't give up on Kenny Pickett. Yeah, like I think obviously this isn't going to be their year. It's not going to be his year, but they've shown enough out of him. I've seen enough out of him that he could definitely be a good quarterback in this league. And I'll say this: there was probably more Steelers fans in that stadium than Dolphins fans, which is crazy. I mean, when they were coming back there at the end before that final interception, it was like you thought it was a home game for Pittsburgh. It's just crazy to be some of these fan bases, how well they travel.
And I was impressed to see them, almost come back there too. And actually, I thought the game was over, and they actually put a drive together and got pretty close to making something happen. So, yeah, definitely. Look, the Steelers look horrible this year, but you got Mike Tomlin as your head coach, and he's going to make the right investments in the right places. So definitely some optimism for the future. And then we already covered Bears Pats with Cab, but I just want to echo similar
if
things.
You call that covering.
Covered, yeah. Gave the Bears way too much attention for a single podcast, we'll put it that way. But if you want to talk about Pickett and how he might develop, I also think that Fields looked pretty good this game. And I do agree with the one point that he made where finally the Bears were kind of put in a situation where they needed to utilize Fields, for his actual talents and scheme out their offense in a way that actually, allows him to show the things that, makes him the quarterback that he is. And he played a great game with a horrible offensive line and, not a great supporting cast, as we know. So
New England gets what they deserve, John, because they had a hot hand with Zappy, and I don't understand why teams do this. Dallas did the same thing. You have a hot hand, you're winning games. Don't try to fix something that isn't broken. Bailey Zappe was winning you games, and you put Mac Jones in there probably before he was ready to come back. He looked terrible. And
he's going to be the starter next week too. They just
now you have an interesting situation, and obviously it's toxic in the locker room. Some guys on the team are going to pick Mac, some are going to want to have Zappe starting. And, in Dallas, it's a little more extreme because they've paid Dak all that money, and Dak's probably had a lot more success than Mac Jones has had. But still, I mean, Cooper Rush was winning you games, and Dak has not looked great. And in either of his starts in Dallas, it's just like, why do you force, you want to be right so much as a coach and as an owner, this is our guy, this is our guy, this is our guy. Well, sometimes winning is more important than you being right.
And it's interesting too, because we know McCarthy's on the hot seat. So look, if they can't get it done with Dak for the next couple of games here, Cooper Rush might make an appearance again. I think that's
for sure. Like
possible.
I don't know, yeah, it's mind blowing. I don't know why teams do it. It's weird to me.
Yeah, definitely. If you're feeling confident with what you got, you should roll with it until you have a reason to reconsider. So, moving on to next week's games here. We'll just try to run through these to the best of our abilities. Mark, you ready to go? You got the keyboard set up so we can make sure to document.
Of course.
Cool. Ravens Bucks. I'm gonna go Ravens here. I can't possibly pick the Bucks with what they did last week.
I'm gonna pick Tampa Bay, and I just feel like Tom Brady's gonna turn around at some point, and Lamar's struggling, and I just feel like it's a good matchup for the Bucks defense.
Cool. Broncos Jags in London. I think I'm gonna go Broncos here. Now that Russ is all stretched out.
I'm gonna go Jags just because of how much that storyline pissed me off. And hey, just a follow side note story. I know we're running through these, but John, is that article true, confirmed or not? Whether about Russell Wilson trying not to poop?
So we'll save this for next podcast where I can actually.
We're gonna do our research.
True. Yeah, but I saw an article today from a verified Twitter account. I forgot who posted it.
It's part of my take, wasn't it?
That said that I think it was part of my take that said that Russell Wilson has a diet to try to limit the number of times that he poops in a week. He only tries to poop on Tuesday and Thursday, and I cannot possibly think that is a true thing that he said.
Well, if you look further, it says that he thinks he can get to a point where if he eats and drinks the proper things, that he will never have to poop because the body will eliminate any waste. There will be no waste.
I was about to say, this is to not waste any.
That's his goal
in his body. He just
like imagine being that
self-entitled.
Imagine being like that and thinking, you know what? I don't need to poop. I'm Russell Wilson. Are you kidding me? And you wonder why you can't win a game? This dude's worried about, like, dude, go take a nice poop.
I don't want to get too fired up.
It's one of the simple pleasures in the whole world. Everybody likes taking a normal poop every now and then. You know what I mean?
If this was satire, it was damn good satire. We'll put it that way.
I hope it was, because if it's true, I'm going to lose my mind next week.
Yeah, we will definitely do some sleuthing to see if that's actually
to be continued. If anyone knows any details, hit us up about that, because we were very interested.
Panthers, Falcons. I'm going to have to go Falcons here. I know the Panthers beat up on Tampa successfully, but I mean, they're still just both these teams are similar, right? Where it's like, they're not really playing for this season. That's for damn sure. So I guess we'll see what comes of it. I'm going to give Falcons the benefit of the doubt being at home.
Atlanta.
Just visited Atlanta this past weekend too. Saw Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That stadium is gorgeous. Very nice stadium you guys have.
Mariota gets it done.
For sure. Bears, Cowboys. I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yeah, if you think we're going to bring Cab on, in the same episode, I'm going to pick the Bears. Hell no. Dallas.
Dolphins, Lions. I'm probably going to have to go Dolphins here.
I thought for a second you might make a very stupid mistake. I'm glad that you're learning not to. Miami's going to win. Lions don't know how to win football games. It's pretty clear.
That's definitely what's been apparent for the past few weeks here at this point. And I wish I could say otherwise, but it's not the case. Cardinals at Vikings. I'm going to go Vikings. They've been winning. The Cardinals have looked weak, and it's at Vikings. So I think they'll make it happen. And, it's 1:00 game, right? Kirk Cousins' time to shine.
1:00 Kirk, man. I'm going to go with the Vikings as well. Another side note, the Cardinals, I know they came out on top this week against the Saints, but there were a lot of times that there was some pretty feisty conversations going on between Kyler Murray and Kingsbury and even DeAndre Hopkins. It just seems like there's a lot of egos going on. And a lot of
the Saints beat themselves that game.
Right.
I mean, Andy Dalton threw 2 pick sixes, period.
Yeah, but
the Saints win that game if he doesn't.
It was pretty visible that things aren't super smooth. There's some trouble in paradise in Arizona.
Raiders and Saints. I think this will actually be the first week that I'm picking against the Saints. I think that the Raiders are just more desperate, more in the mood to win it. I think that the Saints have been looking really sloppy with Dalton now these past 2 starts. Jameis still isn't back. They're still missing both Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. Surprise, surprise, Michael Thomas is missing half the season. I want him out, trade him away. Raiders are going to win this game, I think.
I'm with you, Raiders. I think the Raiders are probably the most dangerous team in football.
That's it, Jets. Going Jets.
I'm going to go with the Jets as well. The Raiders are the most dangerous team in football. Both figuratively and literally. I mean, they have players like shoving fans and cameramen, but Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jets.
It's on brand, right? They've always kind of had that
bad boy
violent
team
lifestyle
for
sure.
But the
Steelers at Eagles. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to follow up this Jets Patriots game. I'm picking the Jets, but I'm very interested to see. I mean, Bill Belichick has had the Jets number for 20 years. Like, it doesn't matter who is in. It just seems like he has a great game plan against them every single time they play. I'm excited to see. I think the Jets want revenge. I think they're going to play pissed off. I'm excited to see this one.
For sure. Steelers at Eagles. I'm going to go Eagles here.
Eagles, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Titans at Texans. I think the Titans are due for a loss here, and I think that the Texans have been playing pretty decent football. I'm going to go Texans.
I'm also going to go with Texans. I'm much more careful to pick against them after having Troy on here. The Texans are not a bad team by any means, and I don't think Tennessee's that good. The Colts just stink, and they beat themselves. So I'm going to go with Texans.
Speaking of another garbage matchup, thank God it's not in prime time since the NFL seems to love doing that to us this year. Commanders at Colts. Look, Matt Ryan's getting benched. Commanders have a little bit of swagger going on. I feel like that team is better with Heineke. I said that earlier in the season, actually.
For sure.
I think Heineke's a better quarterback than Wentz. I think he brings that team together a little bit better than Wentz could possibly imagine of doing so. I'm going to go Commanders.
I'm also going to go with the Colts, not the Commanders. I can't bet on the Commanders. I can't say that the Commanders are going to win. I don't like them, even with Carson Wentz not playing, because I agree with you. They are a better team with Heineke in. I just think it's in Indianapolis. I just think the Colts, ironically, will be better without Matt Ryan as well. So, and I think the Colts have a better all-around team. So I'm going to go with the Colts.
Niners, Rams, nothing for me to believe that the Niners don't win this. The Niners own the Rams in the regular season, period.
Truth. That's the truth. And they just got McCaffrey, and they're a better team, and they're coming off of a loss. And, I don't know. I just think that the 49ers have it figured out, like you said. So I think they're just going to run the ball on the Rams and do what they do every single time.
Giants at Seahawks. I think Seahawks win this one. I think this is actually a good litmus test for, how well the Giants are actually playing football here. I'm going to go Seahawks.
I'm also going Seahawks. Going to the 12th man. Seattle's a hard place to play. And I just think that that's a tough spot for Danny Jones and these guys. I just can't believe the Giants are still doing what they do and winning games. It's just crazy to me.
I'm surprised.
You say the same thing about Seattle, though, too. They've surprised everybody, too. Geno Smith, I don't know.
Exciting game. Seattle. Honestly, that's an exciting game. So Packers, Bills, I got to go Bills here. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. I do think this team can turn it around, but I do not think this is the week where that begins.
No, I think things are going to get worse before they get better. This is their rock bottom week right here for Green Bay. This is the rock bottom week. Things will turn around after they get demolished by Buffalo, because Buffalo won't lose again because they're that good.
Then Monday Night Football, the Bengals are going to beat the Browns, and I'm feeling pretty confident about that one.
Yeah, I'm also going to say that the Bengals are going to win. Joe Burrow, like I said earlier, he's figured it out. That passing game is good. Joe Mixon's starting to figure it out, and the defense is better. And the Browns are struggling. They continue to kind of take steps backwards. So I'm also going to go with the Bengals.
For sure. Mark, thanks for joining me tonight. I am very sleepy. I think I'm going to go get some shut-eye. But I will see you next week. Regularly scheduled programming where we're actually, meeting Tuesday, getting the episode out on Wednesday. Thanks everybody for dealing us with getting this out a day late. Mark, any final closing remarks or comments?
No, just excited to continue to get more guests on here coming up in the following weeks, and expect more rants on social media here pretty soon, because my boiling point is very close to getting to that point.
Sounds good. And we know Mark's rage meter, nobody can hide from it.
No one wants to see my rage. It knows no bounds.
Until next time, everybody. See ya.